to the Sketch Cover Comic Cast.
The Sketch Cover Comic Cast, guys, coming to you today on a Sunday. You'll be hearing it on Wednesday, but we're recording on Sunday because you deserve the best. It's James Huzzy here with partner in crime fighting, Clay Pauly. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you doing?
You know, pretty good.
That's good.
Still going off a, like a post-Comic-Con high. Went to my first Comic-Con, and I know it's hard to believe, me being a person that I am, you're like super geek, all this stuff. This is the very first, like, official Comic-Con that I've been to ever, Heroes Con in Charlotte, and it was great. I want to thank you for helping me break into that. It's great.
Buddy, I wanted, when I heard you had never been to one, I was like, are you serious? Like, that exists? Like a nerd has never been to a convention? So, I mean, dude, I was so pumped you were going to be able to come. And I was really excited that you got to bring Jimmy and Christina to share that with me. That was really cool.
Yeah.
So, dude, let's go to some more and let's plan for next year. Like I love every convention. They're all great. They've all got their own flavor. And Heroes Con is just all about comics. So, I love it.
Well, I saw today, in the spirit of all that, Wizard World is coming to Winston August 4th and 5th, I think. So
yeah, and there's a chance. I'm already like kind of trying to look and see if there's a chance we could break into that one. You know, I mean, like for like special passes, of course.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like,
I mean, not actually break in. Yeah, I mean, there may be some of that too, but try to keep on the straight and narrow.
That's right. So, and there's multiple reasons we could enjoy it. You know, whether it's for promoting art for Eric, or whether we're doing it for our own podcast, or just for fun if we're going to browse, you know, whatever. It'd be a blast to go.
And I'm going to, at very least in next couple of days, now that I'm out for summer, maybe do a post of some of the cool stuff I got at Comic-Con, you know, like give some shout outs to just some of the fun things. But Jimmy, like you said, he loved it. He's like, I'm going to have my birthday at Comic-Con next year. I'm like, all right, yeah.
Heck yeah, that is a great place of a birthday. I save my money up like every year just to like spend it and blow it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, that's cool. What else is going for you on the Family Geek front?
Just playing toys and being off for summer. You know, like I'm out for summer vacation, so I've got Jimmy, and we've just been playing toys. He's way into Pac-Man now. We found on Netflix they've got Pac-Man and I want to say Ghostly Adventures, and the whole series is on Netflix. So we got a Pac-Man Funko Pop, got one of the Ghost Comic-Con. And Pac-Man's been fighting Ghost with Mario and Batman and Robin. It's been fun.
That's really cool. Yeah, I saw his Pac-Man the other day when we got to hang out at that birthday party for our cousin Kari. So that was cool.
Which is super awesome. What about you? What's been going on?
I mean, like Comic-Con was a big one. That was a lot of fun. And just to add on to the comic convention, like we got to again hang out with our good buddy and sponsor Eric Niltowski, and cool. I really was just excited to go see him for a whole day and just try and like serve him any way I could, watch his booth for him so he can go to the restroom or get a hot dog, whatever. So I mean that was a blast, just getting to hang out with him because he lives on the other side of the state, so east and west got to meet in the middle one time, so it was great. And other than that, the only thing I've been doing is I heard Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming out, kind of Final Fantasy and Disney, like kind of crossover. And I have had Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 for like forever, and I had never beat them. I almost got to the end like on both of them, but I never like completed them because stuff came up. So I've been like going through Kingdom Hearts like with my kids like all week. When I have like a little bit of time, I'm like, okay, let's throw in some Kingdom Hearts. Let's go like save, Halloween Town. Let's go save Agrabah. We gotta do this, guys. And that's been a lot of fun. So I'm hoping to break through both of those games before Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out.
Question on that: how much reading is involved, or could you read it too?
Oh, reading?
Yeah.
There's not really. It's a PS3. It's a PlayStation game.
Okay.
It's when you say reading, like, do you mean like guess like their subtitles and stuff?
I guess because like Jimmy's way into Mickey Mouse too. Since we came went to Disney, and there was this whole thing where he fought some of the Disney villains in one of the shows, and like he loved it. And I'm like, if he could play that on his own, like he would like that, like he does Super Mario on his Nintendo DS.
Yeah.
Or would I have to like play it with him and like, is it like, do you talk to people and they give you clues, so I would have to read that and he would solve the clues, or is this
probably more along those lines, more than likely. But like, to the credit of Kingdom Hearts, like my 17-month-old, she obviously doesn't play video games yet, but I'll put it on the TV, and she is like glued to watching it because she's seeing like Donald and Goofy is like they're like your partners, and you're going through all these different worlds. And like, there's all these cool like Easter eggs and cool ways to like that you're in the game, and like you find this book, and like Merlin the magician like has it, and you end up like bringing him back this book from one of the other characters that he had found, because Merlin wanted to restore this old book he had found, and you bring him the book, and he puts it on this table. He's like, "Go ahead and look through the book if you want." He's like, "It's a very odd book, but there's all these pages that are torn out of it, and I want to restore them over time. Like, I want to find the pages and put them back in." So on your adventure, you go and you find these different pages. But when you go to the book and you open it up, it's Winnie the Pooh. So like,
oh, cool!
You hop in the book and like you're walking around 100 Acre Woods, like meeting Winnie the Pooh. And when we went into the book, and my daughter like that's her favorite movie. She loves Winnie the Pooh. When she saw me walk up into the what do you call it, like the open prairie or whatever, and there's like a log sitting there, and Winnie the Pooh's just like sitting there tapping his head like think. And she was like Pooh, she was just like so excited.
Love it.
So it's really cool. There's lots of like cool like Disney characters like Hercules and all this different stuff. Everything's just jammed into one game, and it's a blast. But I hope to beat them before number 3 comes out.
Well, I am going to have to check that out, and maybe let him watch me and then take over for himself. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yes, it is cool. Well, on that front, my friend, I guess we're ready to transition into... Oh, my gosh, what am I thinking? I got to do a quick shout-out to our buddy Eric Nieltowski.
Absolutely.
Art.com. He is our friend and sponsor, and it was such a privilege and an honor being with him this past week at Heroes Convention. And I got to say, guys, if you like art, if you like Marvel, if you like DC, if you're a big Overwatch fan, TMNT, he has got some phenomenal prints that are available to you on his web store, ericnieltowskiart.com. Go check him out and pick up a few prints and show him some love. So go check out ericnieltowskiart.com.
It is really slick looking. I love it. It's great.
It is cool. And you picked, you know what, on that note, what print did you pick up again? Like me and you both got a print.
I actually wound up getting 2 of the Justice League prints, the Aquaman and who the Justice League are, but I got 2 because my son wanted one to put in his room, and I'm like, but that would look good in my office too. All right, it's Comic-Con, so let's do it. So that's
awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I picked up a Wonder Woman print that he had made, and it just looks so boss. I mean, it just looks so amazing. He like redesigned her a little bit to where she's got like this cool like shoulder armor. I'm like, why is DC not picking up Eric?
Yeah,
like, amazing redesign. Like, this is like the best version of Wonder Woman I've ever seen. I love it. But anyway, so that's another shout out to how cool and how great our sponsor is.
Oh, and we'll have to get Eric to come back by, because I think, I'm probably like getting a little too, out there, but we introduced him to Cheer Wine, and he's going to have to come back for that up here in North Carolina. So.
That's right, man. It's a good idea.
That might be our next trade. You could be like, hey, if you mention Sketch Cover Comicast and give him like a 6-pack of Cheer Wine, you could get some. He's probably listening right now. It's like, it's not that good. You're you're overestimating your state signature drink. And you're like, no, it's really that good.
No,
anyway, sound off in the comments. Cheer Wine rules. Sundrop also. So yeah,
that's right. Boom. Cool, awesome, man. That sounds good. Maybe we can get Cheer Wine as a sponsor.
Yeah, there we go. And they are not sponsoring us right now, so that was unsolicited endorsement for Cheer Wine. Born in the Carolinas, raised in the glass, my friends. It's great.
That's right. Okay, cool, man. Well, Spider-Man Noir.
Yes. This is our kind of going a little walk on the dark side. Spider-Man Noir, I believe, started in 2009. It was a 4-issue miniseries, and then it spun off, I think, into another 4 issues. It was part of the Marvel Noir line, and I don't know, it's just really, really cool. Like I said, 4 issues. It's the premise for the whole line, I think they had like a Captain America noir, they had like a X-Men noir, just which I would really like to check out, by the way.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man is the one that's got a lot of play. The premise was you take Marvel's heroes and you kind of put them in that like edgy, dark, pre-superhero world of like film noir. Think if you're into comics, or even if you're not, seen some movies like Sin City, like that kind of like, the night is dark and she was a dame with legs to kill for, and she walked through my door. I mean, very like Maltese Falcon, old school like detective. Think like the Dick Tracy, the Shadow. I think you could also call it like pulps. It was comic stuff, the book series that were real popular before Action Comics #1, and that comics kind of owe a little tip of the hat to, a little background to, because without these noir heroes like G8, the Spider, the Shadow, Doc Savage, without those guys, you wouldn't have Superman or Batman, especially because he owes a lot to the Shadow. Yeah. So I guess this was Marvel's kind of like saying, hey, we owe you one, gives them kind of like a little flashback and a little, I guess I'll use the word again, a tip of the hat to these old school heroes. And they just reimagine them in that context. Use the term Elseworlds like they do with DC, where it takes heroes and put them in new situations. Well, that's what this was. And we focused on Spider-Man. Well, one, we both like Spider-Man. And I think you've had a whole lot of fun playing him in the Shadow Dimensions video game.
I did. Again, like I hope that we're working on it, but I'm hoping that we actually can post some gameplay eventually.
Yes.
Like some actual games that me and you will play, and we'll try and keep them as closely, comic book related as we can. But we're trying to have fun with our kids too, so it might be some other
a little back and forth.
But yeah, man, like when I played Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, that was legitimately like my favorite part of the game, was playing as Spider-Man Noir, because in the game you have 4 different Spider-Men. I think it was, your Amazing Spider-Man, just classic Spider-Man proper. Then you have Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Man Noir, and then I think there was Spider-Man in black suit, where he kept the black suit. He never took it off. But Spider-Man Noir was all about stealth, and it was just really awesome that, just this whole different aspect or take on Spider-Man. It was just super cool.
And speaking of that take, so this is set in the 1930s, right during the Great Depression. All your favorite characters are here. They're just different. Peter Parker's still there, still has his Aunt May, except in this world, Aunt May is kind of like an agitator. She's on the street. She runs a boarding house, I think, where she's giving out like soup to homeless people down on the lake, because it is the Great Depression. And she is advocating for communism. Like, she's a socialist, and she's like, we want change, which was a big deal in the 1930s during the Great Depression. And Peter's there. J. Jonah Jameson is still there, trying to be like, beacon of truth to get to the corruption and stop them. They name check Franklin Roosevelt. Like, I think it's right before he comes into the White House, because they mention him and Hoover, and like the Green Goblin's here, but he's a gangster. They have speakeasies because this is like before Prohibition, and it just takes things that are familiar and warps them slightly. Like, instead of Green Goblin riding around on a goblin glider, he's just Osborn. He has the street name The Goblin, and he's way into like corruption in the city. He has his whole gang. The Enforcers are there. I love seeing the Enforcers.
Yep.
The Vulture is here. So is Craven, and let me see, Ox, Fancy Dan, Montana. Who am I missing?
There's one more, but he's kind of concealed.
Right. And Ben Urich is there. He's a photographer and still kind of a jaded, newspaper guy. And instead of them being all supervillains, they've mentioned how Norman Osborn, this corrupt, official, has gotten his gang from circus freaks, and they call them circus freaks, carnies. I think they said Vulture was a geek, which I love seeing in the old timey context where he bites the heads off chickens. Yeah. And Craven was like some animal trainer. It was just a neat concept, very neat.
It really was, man. It's super cool. It felt really fresh, even though this comic's old. It still felt new in some way.
Well, and Uncle Ben, he's already died by this time, so we don't get his speech to Peter, but he was mentioned as to have been an ex-World War I war hero, and that's where Spider-Man Noir makes his costume from Uncle Ben's old war uniform. And the way he got his powers was neat. It wasn't in a like a scientific experiment. It was some sort of mystical artifact, right? That Norman brought back because he's through the whole course of this thing. You find out that Uncle Ben was killed by Norman Osborn for like sticking his nose where it didn't belong, and Ben Urich knew about it. And in the course of all this, Peter Parker trails Norman Osborn trails some of Norman's guys to a deal they're making for some artifact. And in that are all these spiders, and they wind up biting him, and he gets it more in like a mystical way, which is a really cool nod to the heroes of the pulps, because a lot of them got their powers through like magic or, something like that. And I was like, well, that's kind of neat. And then it basically follows the storyline of Spider-Man's trying to take down Norman Osborn, but learning a little bit about what it means to be a hero in New York. So do you think I covered it okay?
I think so. I mean, ultimately the story just comes to a head where Spidey takes on the villains, and he comes out victorious in the end. I mean, in a minute we'll get down to maybe how, our thoughts on how he takes down these villains. But that's ultimately this story has a beginning and an end, where it ends with him becoming Spider-Man.
So, what did you like the most about this?
Oh gosh. Just the creative twists on the characters are just super fun. And I'm not the biggest advocate for like a ton of Elseworld stuff, especially when you start melding that into like proper stuff. Because I feel like it lessens like the uniqueness or the importance of characters. Like, I like having Peter Parker, and he's Spider-Man. He's literally amazing as Spider-Man. But when you start throwing in all these other characters like Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, Silk, Spider-Gwen, Miles Morales, well, suddenly there's like 20 different Spider-Men, and Spider-Man doesn't really stand out anymore.
Right.
He's lost in a sea of spiders, so to speak. So, but this book was really cool in the sense that they keep it Elseworlds. It's an alternate reality. They keep it maintained in the Noir universe, and I can really respect and get behind that book. Number one, because it's super unique. It stands on its own. It's unique enough that where, like, again, I'm not going to keep talking about video games, but it was so unique and so well received that Noir actually became a selected part of the Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions video game. Like, it was that cool of a concept. And so I really appreciated it. I'm glad I got to read it. I loved every different villain that shows up in the comics. I thought Norman was really cool as the Goblin. Vulture was super sick as literally as like this ravenous, like cannibalistic creature. Again, let's go ahead and dive into it. He is actually the reason that Ben Parker. He is the instrument of Ben Parker's death. I think in the police report in the comics, they called it he was attacked by wild dogs, but Ben Urich, in kind of monologuing internally with Peter in the same room with him, kind of comes to find out that Ben Urich knows the truth, that it was the Vulture that was unleashed and completely just ravaging and murdering and ultimately eating Ben Parker's carcass. I mean, it was just like, wow, that is
like a literal vulture. Like, that's that's like a dark character resurrection right there. I'm like, Vulture was scary.
It really is. So I think that's my favorite aspect, was like just the very creative and very unique twists on all the characters, but still maintaining their likeness enough to where it pays homage to the original character.
Yeah, like there was never any of the characters that they did where I was like, yeah, that doesn't fit. They changed it for the noir atmosphere, but yeah, Kraven still was like a hunter, and Vulture was, by golly, he was a vulture. Yeah, exactly. And it was cool. And did he ever, Spider-Man Noir, did he show up in the Spider-Verse when they did that huge crossover?
I think he did. And I mean, and I really liked Spider-Verse, and we'll talk about that again in another podcast.
I hope so, because I've never read that, and I've always wanted to.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'll never forget one panel in that book, like in the entire series. It stuck with me kind of in a heart-wrending way, but we'll talk about it when we get there. And that's a hook for all our listeners.
Yes. Tune in. It's coming, guys. It's coming.
But yeah, he was in the Spider-Verse.
Cool to know. And I like how you said Elseworlds, because I used to like some of the Elseworlds, but like they were always hit or miss. Like it was like, okay, Gotham by Gaslight, good. Batman as a pirate, good. And then there were some that were like, not so much. Like Superman at World's End, I've heard bad. So, but it was just cool to know that like these are they're still out there. You can go check out those, and I plan on it. Like I plan on going in and looking at some of the noir universes, like the X-Men, because the only thing, and we discussed this, I feel like 4 issues, it was too short. I would have liked to have stayed in this world a little while, like maybe have some breathing room for him getting his powers and, here's how it operates. But it's a noir experiment. It's an event. You don't know how the book's going to sell. So I can't blame him for, slotting it for 4 issues. But in hindsight, I wish they'd have been like, no, this is going to be good. Let's make it 12. And I would have enjoyed that.
Yes, I wish it was longer. I wish that I had been able to see like a more complete Spider-Man universe. I would have loved to seen like characters like to bring the full Sinister Six or something like that into the story and see the Noir's take on it. But it was hooking me in. I think there was even one shot near the end of the book where there's like a newspaper. Someone's looking at the newspaper and it says like Doc Ock, Professor Doc Octavius is like looking into Atlantis or something. I was like, well, that sounds interesting.
Yes, like how's that gonna work?
Yeah, and like how does someone like Electro fit into the universe?
Yeah.
Or Sandman? Like it was like really like I'm very curious now within the noir universe. Like how do you reformat these characters to fit the 1930s, to fit the dark feel? I mean, it was just it hooked me in. It made me excited to read more about the noir universe.
Talking about the Norman's gang, you have the Enforcers, Fancy Dan, Ox, Montana, who really you don't have to do a lot of tweaking to make them fit in a gangster setting because basically that's what they are. I mean, and they even seem more at home in that setting in the before. The Vulture, we talked about him being a carnival geek biting heads off chickens and decided to go with the other meat that is supposed to taste like chicken and goes into humans. Craven being a hunter and Super Shock. You and I talked about this. The Chameleon shows up. Oh, I love that. Like I was reading it last night and I'm sitting there and we're getting ready to go to bed. And Ben Urich is talking about how, it's being inspired by Peter Parker's selflessness and, just how he's still optimistic despite all of this stuff is going to turn on Osborn and turn him in. And he calls J. Jonah Jameson. Jameson comes in to get the papers and shoots him. And I'm like, what? And you said you're like, Jameson's turned? What is this? And then the book, if I remember correctly, opened with Jameson's murder. And then it flashes back like 3 weeks earlier. Yeah. I'm like, well, how does this go? And then it's revealed that wasn't Jameson at all. It was the Chameleon, the master of disguise. I'm like, this is so cool. I loved it.
Oh yeah, it was such a sick twist. I was because it made sense for Jameson to turn, so I would kind of jumped on board of like, okay, well, Osborn just he got to him, and now he's taking money from Osborn, but it was so shocking because in the book, Jameson is so like justice, the truth will come out, he was that kind of character.
Run, Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it fits so perfect, but then to see like him holding the gun, it was like gut wrenching, like, oh no, they got him. But then to come to find out that Jameson had he was taken prisoner by Osborn, and it was actually the Chameleon. Like I think there was at the morgue, and Peter got in the morgue and started like messing with his face or something.
Yeah, and it like mashed in. I was like, "Oh, that's gross," but that's also cool.
I mean, he was another carnival circus freak, I guess, as the book terms it. That I think he actually was in some way related to Craven in the book too, but I think he called him like his half brother or something. But
I believe he was like my idiot half brother got himself killed, which I'm like, that's kind of cool. So,
but it worked so well, like, and it was such a good creative twist on like on making it seem like Jameson was part of the villain crew, but no, like Jameson held his own, made me respect Jameson all the more in the story. And then also like I really enjoyed the take on Felicia Hardy.
Me too.
How like she was actually this club owner called the Black Cat, and all the who's who of all the crime syndicates, but I guess even more of like even also like I guess you call it the social elite. Were also there as well, and it was just like really cool that she kind of had the in with all the important people of New York at that time, and she was kind of on. Like she was on like on the know for what was going on. Like she knew everyone's secrets to a certain extent.
Well, it was fun too to like see that because there were speakeasies going on in New York, and a few months ago, I've been following a podcast called American History Tellers, and they deal with historical events in America, like the title says. But they covered like a 6-part series on Prohibition, and they talked about the New York area and Prohibition. And there was a female, I've got to look up who she is, like a female speakeasy owner who it was an open secret that that's who she was in New York, and all the elite hung out there, and she had a name. And I was like, I wonder if they based her being, the Black Cat and it being, an owner, if they based it on this real historical figure. So it's like, that was very cool.
It was very cool.
Oh, and I laughed out loud when they brought, when Ben Urich brought Peter into the club, and he's like, give us a table and get him a whiskey and the club soda for the kid. And Peter's like, how about a whiskey for me? And she's like, aren't you a little young to drink here? He's like, I'll tell you what, you show me your liquor license and I'll show you my ID. Like, all right. Yeah.
That's a good point, man. Peter was kind of a spitfire in this book.
Yeah.
Definitely. I posted on Facebook, this ain't your daddy's Spider-Man. No joke, man. This was this whole story just had a different feel. And this really was a complete unique Peter Parker. And again, it just had to have been a Peter shaped by the times and shaped by the rough atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And I think that kind of just takes us into maybe the biggest question or biggest kind of exclamation point on the end of the book. Peter really he makes the probably the hardest choice I've ever seen maybe a hero take, and that's he decides to take out the Vulture and by killing them. He takes out his gun, and granted, the Vulture in one scene he is sent off to kill Aunt May, to actually take a hit on Peter as well, because I guess Osborn has deduced that Peter is Spider-Man. Is that accurate? I forget if that was the case or not.
I think so, or even if he doesn't, deduce that, he thinks that he has Urich's files on him. So either way, but I'm pretty sure he determined that, this is.
That's right. That makes sense that they deduced that Peter had the files that Urich was going to use to take down Osborn. But they had sent the Vulture to take out Aunt May, and when he gets there, Spider-Man comes in the door holding a big old 6-shooter in his hand. And, blows Vulture away, and it was
fitting into his kind. That's how the pulps Batman would accidentally kill somebody, he would punch him and fall in a vat of acid, and it's he fell in the acid, and Batman's a fitting into it, he didn't kill him, but and Spider-Man kills him, pulp style.
It was really that was kind of hard to digest, but at the same time, I can understand. It was a noir story. I mean, in that society and in that environment, what choices does Peter really have?
I do like the line that he had, the Vulture's oh, you're fast, but are you fast enough to stop me? But can you get over here before I do? And he's like, probably not. And he shoots him.
Yeah. And then again, that brings up I was completely confused at Aunt May's reaction at that, because Vulture was going to kill her, whether it was he was going to, rip out her throat or break her neck. He was very obvious in what he intended to do to her. And Peter just saved her. He shot the Vulture, saved her. I mean, to me, it made sense. He was defending Aunt May's life. But Aunt May was like, why did you do that? You didn't have to kill them. I don't agree with killing anyone. That's just wrong. He saved your life.
And it's kind of a crap sack world. Everybody's corrupt. What do you think's going to happen? You take him to jail, he'll get out. It's kind of, I don't know. I think we talked about too, she's advocating for kind of a communist revolution. Do you think that's not going to involve guns or what? Right. I don't know. But again, heroes don't kill.
Right.
But it is the noir universe. And I don't know. That brings us to Kraven the Hunter. He straight up killed him too after the Aunt May speech, because he just throws him in that vat of spiders. He's like, "What did you say? If it was I surrender, I'm sorry." And it's just threw him in.
Yeah. So my heart kind of, it didn't break, because I understood this was a different universe, but at the same time, there's a piece of me that's but Peter, Peter.
What would
your Uncle Ben say? You can be better than these other guys. So I was rooting for him to make the hard choice, and I think I would have maybe enjoyed the story a little bit more had he found a way to avoid that action.
Right.
But
like I could see it happen, like him killing the Vulture, fine. But then after the Aunt May speech, that would have been this version's power. Great power comes great responsibility. Because we didn't hear that in the story. We did not get that line. And then he would have not killed Craven, figured out how to take down Osborn. But the one kind of criticism that I had is he's fighting Osborn in the sewers. Osborn's trying to get away, with Felicia. And I did like how Osborn was basically like a freak show, as they say in the book, like a carny person too, because he had like green skin, like underneath the mask. Yeah, it almost like Killer Croc. It made me think of him. Yeah. And Spider-Man's fighting him, and he's like, just kill me now, it'll be a freak show if you take me to trial, and I'll get free and blah blah blah. And Spider-Man's like, no, we're gonna bring you in. And I'm like now you decide that killing's wrong? You just straight up I don't know. It was like, I've killed the Vulture, and then I killed Craven. Killing's wrong. I'm not gonna kill you. You're going to jail. But that was taken out of his hands anyway, because then like Craven, like covered in these spiders in his last breath, like grabs Osborn, and it's like, oh, he didn't really have to decide. It's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you either. I don't know. It's very convenient, but
exactly. So, I think ultimately my final criticism on the whole thing is I wish it was longer, but I enjoyed it regardless. It was still a cool and fun.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. It was a fun place to visit, actually. Like, I would like to go back to the Noir Spider-Man and be like, what's he up to? I like that. That was fun.
Yep. Yeah, I agree, man. It was cool. I'm really glad that we looked into it. But on that note, man, it is like perfect timing. Like, perfect timing. It's time to jump into character resurrection.
All right, boys and girls. Do I introduce this or do you introduce it? I can't remember.
It is your pick, so you are bringing it home.
Oh, I feel like I've been like super chatty. I hope this isn't going to be like he is just like Stan Lee. He's dialoguing. Like we're the Lee and Kirby of the podcast set. I don't want to be like, oh, this is the end of our relationship. No, our character. No. I know if anybody has seen, and I swear I did not pick this guy because of Jessica Jones. We just found out when we started recording, this guy is on Jessica Jones season 2. It's the Whizzer, ladies and gentlemen.
Boom.
Robert Frank. He is a golden age character, a super speedster, but not the good one, not Jay Garrick the Flash. He is, I think he was in the Invaders, but he appeared in USA Comics #1, 1941, created by Al Avison. I pronounced that okay. He was a penciler, and guys, the writer is unknown. Perhaps he didn't want to take credit for it. His ability, secret identity, like I said, Robert L. Frank. He was affiliated with the Invaders, All Winter Squad, the Liberty Legion, and the Avengers. His abilities, self-taught, hand-to-hand combatant, superhuman speed and reflexes. Guys, you've got to see this guy's costume. His name is the Whizzer. He is in an all yellow costume with a big W on the chest. He secret origin on a trip to Africa with his father, who was a doctor. Robert was bitten by a cobra, and Dr. Frank saves Robert by a transfusion of mongoose blood and discovered his son has developed super speed, like you do. And he then decides to fight crime and joins Bucky in the Liberty Legion, and then they fight the Red Skull. And then he just has like a superhero career. Not really though. Like he kind of fades into obscurity. I think he appeared back in some Avengers books. They thought that he might be the true father. This is before Magneto was revealed as Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's dad, or is he? The Whizzer was believed to have been their father at some point because of the super speed, but that was not to be. So he can run at a whopping 100 miles per hour. So that was in middle age, and as a middle-aged person, that's pretty good pace. Like that's not bad. It's not bad. I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
So, the Whizzer. He did appear on Jessica Jones as well. He kind of, I haven't seen this season yet, but from what I could look at the bio, it sounds interesting. He was a character that was experimented on by one of these corrupt government facilities, and he gained the power of super speed, and but only when he's afraid. Like if he gets scared, he can run. And he was like trying to get Jessica to come out as a super enhanced person, I think, to help him with bringing down this corporation. So that sounds like an interesting take. It's not the one I went with, though. It is not the one I went with. So my take, I had two, and I'm going to give one first, and then the second one you might want to edit. I'm not sure. So this is the first idea, and I was going over it with my wife, Christina, and she helped me come up with the second one. I was like, okay, we got this guy, the Whizzer. Here's his real powers. And she was like, really? You're kidding me? This is what happened. So my thought was to do kind of like an Amadeus Cho / like the computer wore tennis shoes kind of riff on the guy, like totally overhaul his origin, like somehow like he's messing with a computer or the internet, or something like he's an inventor, he thinks he's really, really smart or whatever, and lightning strikes the computer or some kind of like accident, and he gets like shocked and the computer information goes into his head, and he's like, when he was in school, people made fun of him because he got like good grades. He's kind of like a nerd and arrogant about it. So they called him like the whiz kid or the whizzer. And so now he is super intelligent, and he uses his power to like solve crimes and like, like just maybe he's more like a proto Hardy Boys type guy, like not like a Genius Jones character. And they call him the Whizzer in kind of a mocking way. But no, more like Encyclopedia Brown, and he solves crimes in his little neighborhood, and it'd be like an all ages book. It's the Whizzer, and
I love it.
So it'd be kind of fun that way. Now, this one is the one you can add because we said this was going to be family friendly. And
oh no! Do I know where you're going with this?
I think you do, because he has a yellow costume. Yeah. Oh, and before I forget, there used to be this comic book that they used to pass out in school. THQ or TH something. It was Whiz Kids Comics, and it was about kids that use computers to solve crimes. It was like, so that's where I got the first one, but with an all yellow costume, and he's called the Whizzer. This is Christina helped me come up with this. Like she said, what does he do? Like, anyway, so edit it if you want. Dr. Robert Frank is a successful. Oh my gosh! Okay, he's in New York. He was a successful urologist, head of the urology department at like New York Hospital. But but he's arrogant, and he's like kind of a jerk, kind of a Dr. Doom type. Like no one is better than me at urology. I have a kidney stone I can fix. But so he like alienates all his employees. And during that, one of them either frames him for like embezzling or like comes out with like some weird, like that he was inappropriate with somebody, or, hey, this might be a good idea to bring the trapster in, where he like gets all this information on. So anyway, like they get him, and he like is fired, and he's like, I'll show them. They mocked me at my skills at urology, made me a marked man. Well, now I will mark them with the scent of the Whizzer. And so it's like the condiment king, but he steals urine.
Oh my god!
He fills up like squirt bottles and like super soakers with pee,
like balloons, little water balloons.
And water balloons, and like he goes on a rampage as the Whizzer. And clearly I've spent too much time with my toddler and potty training, but oh my gosh, I just had to go there. So I picture him as like a Deadpool bad guy, or like somebody who you would see in like, I don't know, like in Preacher or a Garth Ennis comic, where like he shows up and then it's like, yeah, this guy's lame, like some kind of like throwaway, or like some parody universe. So
no.
I don't know.
This is staying. It's staying in the podcast.
Like, I think it's up to you now, because people who have like listened to this are like, yeah, the podcast has reached a new low at episode 5. Unsubscribe. Yeah. So, bring us back. Get us some highbrow going on here.
Oh man, that was I was so sure that it was going to come in somewhere, whether it was from Facebook, but I didn't expect it to be the other podcaster, the Whizzer.
And like his monologue, he was like, Yes, you may shiver in fear at the Whizzer, but don't worry about losing control of your bodily functions. I'll take care of that for you. Like,
oh no,
he'd be a good Batman 66 bad guy. I mean, like,
man, my cheeks hurt.
you're in trouble now, guys. It's the Whizzer.
Exactly. Oh no. Oh, that's so rough.
That is bad.
It could work, man. But I could see him in a Deadpool parody or somewhere.
Explicit tag is up.
It might need to be, but you know what? I'm not gonna lie, man. I genuinely loved like the computer who wears shoes like idea.
I thought that was kind of fun too. Like and it would be like an all ages Marvel comic, or just some zany corner of the Marvel universe would be.
Yeah, fun. And I think I really appreciate like the innocence of it, because I mean that's I think it's cool. I like it. That's one of the reasons like Golden Age heroes are so cool, because like, you know, you read their comics and now we kind of like scoff a little bit and we kind of giggle at how silly it is, but at the same time, like, you know, that's really like innocent ideas. Like, it's, you know, not everything has to be Frank Miller-esque like superheroes, you know, where everything's gritty and dark and everyone dies in the end or something. I think it's cool to have, you know, just like the classic Golden Age heroes of, maybe there's some silliness to them, but the message is generally always good.
Instead of it, you know, it's kind of sad that we have to say that too, that like, oh yeah, you know, like kids can enjoy this. It used to be comics aren't just for kids, you know, the adults can enjoy it too. And now it's more like, hey guys, comics aren't just for adults. Like kids can enjoy them too.
That's true. That is a crazy revelation, and I would agree with it entirely. It's sad, but oh man, it's my turn. Okay, well, you know what? I don't want to forget. Now that I'm thinking of it, I want to say it. Shout out to Malachi Alt, buddy. I think you're the only one on Facebook to properly guess. It was the Whizzer. You were right, as James already said. So big shout out to you, buddy, for guessing correctly again. You've defeated the Riddler. Congratulations.
There we go.
I wish anyone who got it right, I wish I could like send them like a little like question mark trophy or something. Like, you guessed right, you know.
That would be super cool.
That would be awesome, but maybe one day. Okay. You know, also I want to shout out to Brad Nuss. I really liked his guess for Ronan the Accuser, because he caught the red and blue color reference, and I just thought that was cool that he was even saying like Ronan the Accuser for the clue. And there's a few other people that guessed some silly stuff.
Nuke was a favorite guess of mine. I thought that was really cool.
That was a good name drop. Really good. I was really excited to hear that. But okay, so shout outs aside, my turn. All right, so if I had to resurrect the Whizzer, gosh, it is so hard to resurrect him, James, because I mean, just the name is just one of those names where it's like it bleeds golden age name. You know, just like wow, that's so old and so silly, but at the same time, they called him the Whizzer because he's like whizzing by people. You know, like, it's just like wow. But so I maybe hopefully this isn't cheating, but I'm kind of changing the name a little bit.
I think it's fine. What came before, I think the audience would be like, yes, please change the name.
Gotcha. Well, okay, so I'd like to keep Robert Frank, you know, even like his spouse. I think he marries, I forget her name, Madeline Joyce. He ends up marrying like his kind of partner in the Golden Age hero time of war. Like she became Miss America, and they ended up getting married after the war, which is really cool.
See, guys, there's hope for everybody.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think it'd be really cool to kind of take it back a little bit further. I'd like to make the Whizzer more of like a forerunner for Golden Age heroes. I think that'd be really interesting because, again, there's a plethora of Golden Age characters, and everyone's always based in like World War II. I think like, well, let's take it back just a little bit more. Let's take him to World War One.
Nice.
And let's like let him be like this kind of forerunner of characters, you know, not meant to be a pun, but kind of is. Like where he's literally like one of the first people to like show and display like superhuman abilities. And we talked about like his power set was like he could run at 100 miles an hour and he's always scared, or you know, that's kind of like how his powers are like ignited, I guess you could say, like activated by fear. Well, I think it'd be really cool, like if in World War One, you know, let's say like through whatever process you want to come up with, the different doctors or, whatever, they bring him up into this program called Project Whizzer. Maybe that's how the name Wizard sticks in.
Yeah.
But the idea that they've kind of formulated is that, I don't know, maybe the military transits are not safe, so they want to create like an ability, like they've unlocked the ability to instill like super speed in people, but they want to try it out first. So they then like enlist him or Robert Frank in this program, ends up being successful, and they end up giving him the job of being like a courier.
Nice.
World War One. And so he now becomes like this character that's, for top secret, like ultra government, like information that's not allowed to it's too delicate to even like go over through code. It has to be physically transferred to trusted individuals. They let him be like this new character or this new officer that literally like runs across, these very like dangerous lands. So like maybe he like starts getting like these names from different military personnel called like the Golden Ghost or something, like
nice.
he's running so fast or something. They just see like this blur, but trying not to get too much into Flash territory. Anyway, so that's like his job, and like he does that where he's always nervous, like he is scared all the time because talking about mines, you're talking about friendly fire, talking about just being in enemy territory for
constantly getting shelled in like the trench warfare.
Yeah. I mean, my gosh, it's crazy scary to do what he's doing. So another thought I had going into this to help it work a little bit was that I think in like the extended description of the Whizzer, they talk about how at one point like him and his wife are exposed to like nuclear radiation, and I think the wife and even like their kids even end up dying from like nuclear exposure or whatnot, or something like nuclear radiation. And so I didn't know, like, and this is just a side thought. I think I'd like to do it just the way I said, where he's like this forerunner of, so to speak, of heroes, where he that's like his original job is to be like a super courier. But it might be interesting if like you can give him like a cool, like, World War I outfit, maybe just spruce it up just a little bit with some colors and stuff, maybe, but at the same time, to be practical, don't want to like have like a, super obvious color or something,
right?
Like wouldn't be yellow or gold or something. But anyway, it might be another twist you could add on it is of like the experiment ended up giving him like this radiation, like that's naturally like kind of being expelled from his body, just like this natural radiation. So like maybe like he has to wear like a protective suit, which also justifies like him like running. Yeah, like also justifies him like wearing a suit through what in his journey, like it helps protect him from any bullets or bombs or whatever.
Or like maybe he emits a glow, like whatever they gave him. Like
exactly. That was a thought I had. That's perfect that you bring it up. But again, that leads, because it sounds like if you read like the description of the Whizzer and his wife Madeline Joyce, who's the original Miss America, it sounds like a very tragic love story. So I think it almost might, if you wanted to go that route where he's like emitting radiation or something, maybe that in itself is a tragic love story, that they can't be together because it would make her sick or whatever, but they want to be together. So I don't know, that just an extra like layer of like maybe depth, something else to add to the story of like him wanting to be with the person he loves. But anyway, so I think that kind of sums up my ideas, man. But just the Whizzer itself was like a super hard,
dude. That was excellent, and like I think you brought it back from the lowbrow. Like what I love. Like you talked about, like, okay, he's been experimented on, and like the couriers were like a real thing in World War I. That was like a real dangerous job. So if they went the route of, fear makes his powers work, well, then there you go. And the idea of like in World War I, people were trying new things to break the trench warfare, like the stalemate. So you got these like wonder weapons, and then maybe the idea of what if some of the things they did in World War I to create like the soldier type guy was like a precursor to Captain America Project Rebirth. And then you've got like a legacy character, which Marvel doesn't have a whole lot of legacy. Like, you've got the Golden Age Flash, the Silver Age, the Modern Age, and they're connected like DC does. And I was thinking, if he does emit some radiation that they didn't know about, and he's running all over the place and delivering letters and things, or, secret stuff. Wow. He's exposing people to radiation. And in the Marvel universe, hey, maybe that's why we have so many mutants too. Like,
Dude,
it's
oh my gosh, James, let's write a comic.
look at that! Like, let's do it, and then he can pee on people, and now I just like brought it, but
ruined it all.
It's just right down. No, but I think that's so cool. Like, it's a really cool tie-in, and I love it. Like, you're the idea, man. You're like the Jeff Johns of the fact you're taking like, you know, if you like recreate. I love it.
I don't know if it's Jeff Johns enough, and that at the Whizzer was so hard, dude. The more I thought about it, I was like, But I will say on the radiation point, I thought that was a really fun idea. Even though I liked just keeping him like soldier guy, you know, where he's running as courier and makes him a little more vulnerable. I don't know, but like the radiation idea, like that kind of came up because I was thinking like, you know, while DC was, you know, back in that era was very like, you know, mythological and like in a lot of their character creations, Marvel really took off when it all came down to science and gamma rays and radioactive spiders and whatever else. Like, I was like, well, that'd be really cool if this guy was like a precursor to all that and like a, you know, just he's kind of the forerunner for all these like scientific heroes, you could say. And I thought that was really fun, but I felt like if you would miss radiation, just be a little bit more of a tragic character.
Well, and I like the tragic aspect too, because Marvel has that in it too. You know, like, okay, Ben Grimm, he's super strong, but dude, he's made out of rocks. Like, he can't be normal again. Or the X-Men, everybody hates and fears him. Or Spider-Man. I mean, you know, the Parker Luck, everything that goes, you know, on with that. And, you know, Daredevil, okay, all these senses, but he's blind. He's got like this terrible life sometimes. And it would be kind of a, you know, precursor to all of that. And, you know, the whole science aspect of it too. I could even see, because I think in Jessica Jones, they talked about how his powers were killing him, like messing up his, you know, metabolism. I would love to see him still being alive. Like, if you want to go like corrupt government type thing, and like in a government facility, and during like Project Rebirth, Captain America, young, you know, frail Steve Rogers sees him, and then they're like, maybe he's like a cynical, you know, like, so you want to be the one to, you know, sign on the dotted line and yes, sir, I'll serve my country. Well, let me tell you, here's what it gets you, Mr. Rogers, you know, and he'll look like all like emaciated and like, you know, terrible. And he'll be like, you think twice before you sign on that dotted line, boy, you know. Or
I gotcha. Yeah, I gotcha. And I think it'd be, again, this is just going into like the thoughts of making him World War I as opposed to World War II like he is. I think it'd be really cool because again, they happen like within like 40 years of each other. And so like it would be like really interesting if maybe like you could tell stories with the Whizzer that really like break into like preparing future stories for like Captain America. Start letting him like having like young run-ins with like a young Baron von Strucker, or maybe he discovers like the Satan Claw or something like that.
Yeah, or shoot, an adventure with Logan, you know, like before because you know, he's like hanging out. I think that would fit in okay. Maybe.
Yeah, it would. That'd be perfect. And so I think that'd be really cool. Like again, he's like this experience, I guess, from World War I. And he could be an older guy going into World War II, like you're saying, interactions with a young Cap. Or, you know, I don't know, maybe even just Captain America has some cool, you know, story time with Whizzer and on backstory and what happened like from World War I that maybe led into a story with Cap in World War II or something. Anyway, so I think that's literally probably the best I could come up with if it's for a Whizzer character.
Dude, I love it. That's got some super potential. Like, I love it a lot.
That's cool. Well, I'm glad I didn't fail you, James.
Oh no! Well, I think with Dr. You know, Frank, the urologist, I think you win this round, sir.
That sounds good, man.
I almost feel bad now because, like, like your story, like he's this noble, tragic character. He's given his life for his country, and I'm like, and I made all those pee jokes about him. Like, this is a hero. I'm ashamed of myself.
Oh, Robert Frank, you pee head. That's
I know. I'm like, this man is an American hero, you monster. Like, why did I do that? I'm gonna have to rethink some choices today.
Well, I still don't know if I want to take it out of the podcast. I really did. I like hearing it. So
it'll be an Elseworlds. That's Elseworlds, Frank, Robert Frank.
Yeah. That makes sense. You know, this again. I think it was just happenstance, but I thought it was really cool how we kind of touched on more of a elder comic generation on this whole podcast.
Absolutely.
Like we noir 1930s, and then this one was right kind of around the same time frame. So that was just a cool little thing that ended up being kind of a theme. So it was cool.
And that World War I is kind of like, they say that the Korean War is the forgotten war, but whenever people talk about a World War I is hardly ever mentioned. It was, in Wonder Woman, which was cool. But yeah, I would love to have that tie-in into the Great War. This is awesome.
That's cool, man. Okay. Well, any closing thoughts, my friend?
I just wanted to say sorry about the pee jokes. But no, it's just been a really fun podcast, and I really enjoyed the noir universe, and I kind of want to write some Whizzer fan fiction now. That was fun.
That's awesome, man. Well, very cool. Yeah. And, well, guys, I guess that is it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out Eric Nieltowski art at ericnieltowskiart.com. Pick up a few prints. Again, Marvel, DC, TMNT, Overwatch. Pretty much anything that you're into, I'm pretty sure he's drawn a picture of it. So go check him out at his website and pick up a few prints. And guys, thanks again so much for tuning in. I'm Clay Pauly. That was James Hussey, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Have a good one, guys.